At first glance, today's readings seem to be two strange and short pieces just kind of left hanging there with no context. But thinking about the gospel, if you recall last week's gospel, Jesus saying he came to bring not peace but a sword, today's piece follows directly on from that. And as Carol Hughes said last week, Jesus is speaking into a context of persecution and suffering and confusion, where the first followers of Jesus in the early days of the church find themselves ostracized from family and community. So after all the kind of scary talk, Jesus' tone changes. Whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. In other words, I go with you, God goes with you wherever you go. The passage from Jeremiah is there to expand the line in the gospel about the prophets, to expand our understanding of what a prophet is, as the people try and discern who they should listen to, who might be a prophet for them. Hananiah and Jeremiah were both prophets at the same time in the court of King Zedekiah, who was the last king of Jerusalem around 590 BC. And each of them had a different message. Hananiah said, let's overthrow King Zedekiah, who's a puppet king. Let's get rid of the Babylons. We can do it. Let's, get rid of them. And Jeremiah is saying an opposite message. He is saying, don't think that's going to work. I think we have to bide our time and wait, even though our situation is not great. The people followed Hananiah, and of course the Babylonians won, and they were sent into exile. And so Jeremiah says a true prophet will only be known after time has passed, with the benefit of hindsight. If we think about prophets of our time like Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King or Te Whiti o Rongamai from Parihaka, prophets who some saw as true at the beginning, but from our vantage point of history, we all know to be the real deal. Jeremiah became that prophet to be revered by any people in future times undergoing suffering and persecution. He had words that were real for them in their suffering, kind of really addressed what was going on for them and also promised new hope. And Jesus too is speaking to a people who are suffering, and he says, whoever welcomes you welcomes me. Now, of course, welcoming is something we place great value on in our community here at St Matthew's. We strive to be a welcoming community. We strive to be a place of real hospitality. We pride ourselves on being a place for all. But this line from the gospel is actually not about that. It's not about welcoming others. It's about the followers of Jesus being welcomed themselves, being the recipients of hospitality. When, as followers of Jesus, we go somewhere to receive a welcome, we carry Jesus with us, so that Christ is also welcome in that place. That's quite a responsibility. As we finally today gather after the service for our AGM, 3 months late, there's lots in the reports about our own activities and about the people we have welcomed here. Visitors every Sunday, people gathering for weddings, funerals and baptisms, the vigils we held for Christchurch and for Sri Lanka, the workshops on climate change, our business breakfasts, forums around the living wage, our international network and clergy from our partner churches who came last year. Remember when we could travel? The list goes on. But there's also commentary about places where we have been welcomed. The City Mission, the Religious Diversity Centre, Ihu Mātau. And we could list all of the things that we do as individuals in our workplaces and our families and our communities. We're all going to those places from here. But then think about the last 3 months in our lockdown period. We were isolated from each other. We couldn't be in our beloved church building. And yet we connected in a new way as a community in our Zoom gatherings. And while a small number were unable to join and a few preferred not to, we welcomed each other into our homes and lives in lockdown. I still remember the joy of that first Sunday of everyone coming online and greeting each other with surprise and astonishment that we'd managed the technology and that we could see each other. It was such a joy. And we commented on our backgrounds, and Malachi had lots of fun with putting up hilarious backgrounds, and we had a lot of fun kind of being in each other's spaces. And then as the Sundays went by, we had new and deeper conversations, welcoming each other and the gospel of the day into our hearts. We kind of really shifted, and we really dug deep into the gospel. And then, of course, what was also happening each week was that we were being welcomed into the homes of hundreds of other people that we don't know via our worship videos. On Easter Day, somewhere between 400 and 500 people watched our video, and on the regular Sundays, it was about 200. It's kind of a little bit hard to tell with the statistics, but that's what we've basically figured out. We made 21 worship videos in all, including the Wednesday and Holy Week videos. And it wasn't just Kate and me on the videos, it was many of you. The welcoming clips, the readers, the singers, the intercessors. And then there were some of the still photos that we used from the files to kind of try and make you all present. And we had lovely emails and messages from across Aotearoa and internationally thanking us. And one of the things that people often commented on was how lovely it was to see the different faces of all of you on those videos. It gave them a sense of the community. And I know it was really hard for some people doing the videos and how to upload them and all that, but we managed, we got there. And that was a really important part of those videos. Whoever welcomes you welcomes me. You were all welcomed, and so Christ was welcomed. We did well. We pivoted, we got organised, we managed the technology, and we did so in the midst of the anxiety and worry of lockdown. And in the survey that we sent that many of you answered, most of us either enjoyed the peace of lockdown, enjoyed it quite a lot, or found it all right. Most of us coming out of lockdown are worried about family and friends and economic futures. In the list of things that we wanted to commit to, buying local was by far the most popular one. We committed to buy local and support local businesses, and then also to live more simply and to focus more on people and on relationships. And we all want to take some decisive action on the climate crisis as we did with the virus. And there was other feedback too. We're going to write that up for you. But those were some of the top takeaways. And I think we are still settling back into our life as a community. Like all aspects of our lives, things are the same, but they're kind of not the same. I think we still feel off balance. Our collective national anxiety is very focused on the border, of course, around the controls there and the numbers. And we're all carrying different worries about income, job security, health worries, families. And we're catching up with our grief. I took a memorial service yesterday for someone who had died at the very beginning of lockdown. And the family talked about how getting to that point of being able to do the memorial service, they could sort of unpress the pause button. They'd been in pause for 3 months, and they could press the go button again, the play button, and they could move forward with their lives as they were able to gather. And in 2 weeks, we're going to have the memorial service for our own very loved Tom Pallis, and I think that will feel the same for us as well. Because the grief for those families is frozen in time until we can gather and farewell. And so I think we need to all be aware that we're continuing to carry some of that stress. And as our Prime Minister has so often said to us, be kind to each other. And as we move forward into our new normal, whatever that's going to be, we're going to be exploring more options for video content other than the live stream. We're going to be experimenting with different groups to build on our Zoom gatherings, maybe by Zoom, maybe more morning tea gatherings. We're going to try some different formats to try and replicate some of that really good work that we did together. And of course, we'll be working together on the climate crisis and other issues. But as we explore what our major areas of focus might be, maybe one of our guiding questions can be, who is waiting to welcome us? Rather than our more usual question of who can we welcome in? Who is waiting to welcome us? Both online and in person. The new community who are going to live next door from next year at the City Mission. Other faith communities, climate activists, the living wage movement. The list could be endless. Who is waiting to welcome us? Where might we be bold enough to go, knowing that we take Christ with us? The prophets of old were led into exile. The first followers of Jesus were led into times of trouble and turmoil. And we're certainly living in a time of anxiety and stress. But I want us to celebrate today that what we have been able to do together in this time. And I'm confident that we can continue to build our new way forward as we listen to each other and discern as a community. We have indeed been in all this together, he waka and e noa, and we'll go into our future together, confident in that reassurance that wherever we go, Christ goes with us and meets us there.